So, Professor Shuchen, it's a great pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Plínio. Happy to be here.
And are you here because of the 11th International Colloquium of Eastern Philosophy in Unicamp, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And you went here. Is this like your second time, third time? How many
Second
times?
time.
Second time. And how how is your feeling about our country, Brazil?
Well, I came here for the first time last year, and that was my first time in Latin America, well, South America.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was so warm and everybody was very, very friendly. That was like the overwhelming impression. And also just the really sense of nature. I don't think
Right.
I've been anywhere where the nature feels so so present as in Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you live nowadays in China now? Where do you
Yeah.
live?
Yeah. I live China and then the UK. Yeah. Some of the time
What
too.
part of China do you live in?
I live in Xi'an.
Xi'an is like close to Beijing, not close to Beijing.
It's not close to
like-
Beijing. It's
not
about
close to Beijing.
no.
Uh-huh.
I'm not very good with distances, but like it's very far from Beijing. Yeah.
It's like in the middle of the country, south of the country, north of the country.
North.
North.
Yeah. Quite kind of center to north, kind of. Yeah.
Did you feel the effects of global warming there?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I think the summers are getting insufferably hot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I heard that the Chinese government has found some solution about that, like called the green cities. Does it really function?
What
Like
is the
putting
green cities?
gardens and plants in the wall of the buildings and building a lot of beautiful gardens and put a lot of trees there everywhere.
Yeah.
Did you saw that?
I think I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen pictures of it,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know. I don't think they're so widely affected right now in just in kind of commercial spaces yet. Maybe they want to do it. Maybe it's still in like the prototype stage, and they haven't carried it out
Oh,
on a
I
mass
see.
scale yet. Because I don't really see it on like a mass scale yet in buildings.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And being like Chinese that lives in UK and China, how do you feel the differences of culture? I mean, the idea of being like a human person. Do you see there's a difference of concept in them? I mean, being in UK, the concept of people is one, and being in China, the concept of people is another one. Or do you feel like uniqueness of these things? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think I do think it's different. I think in China, I would say you feel more relaxed. I think, and because it's more casual and it's easier to talk to people.
Mm.
Whereas in the UK, I think it's not as easy to talk to other people. I think, but that has its kind of positives. There's more kind of personal space, and if you're a more private person. You can have your own privacy, but in China it's much more it's much more easygoing, and it's just much more normal to just talk to people about people on the street and things. But I think it also depends on which part of China you're in. In Xi'an, I would say that's very much the case. It's very, very normal just to talk to people on the street.
So you felt that too. I was in England,
Yeah.
and I tried to relate to people. Suddenly, a professor there comes to me and said, "You cannot ask how their family is going. You can be arrested because
Right.
if people feel bad about your question, may have to face some juridical issues." I think I was really scared. I was like, "What? Really? Oh, I cannot ask this kind of question." No, but the person did not. He said, "I know, but you cannot ask." I said, "Oh my God, what kind of a country is that? What kind of culture is that? I cannot even ask the person."
Yeah.
No, yeah, now you're saying the same. You see,
I
it's
think so.
shocking for me because I
Yeah.
am used to the Italian way of
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
Brazilian way of things, and Chinese way. So
Yeah.
we go there, and also Indian way, and talk normal to the person,
Yeah.
and there's not this kind of issue. But suddenly, where you live in UK is totally different, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think in Italy I feel the same. It's kind of more easygoing.
Yeah.
I don't feel because I like Italy a lot, so we always go on holiday, And when you go, I feel very relaxed. You immediately feel relaxed. But I don't know, maybe that's because I'm also on holiday. Maybe if I live there, it's different. But
Yeah, then we are in the market problem, you have to enter in this kind of capitalist kind of a living and things like that.
Yeah. But I think it's definitely different, the human connection. I think it's much more casual in China, and I think probably in Italy as well.
Yeah, I feel very familiar in China and in Italy
Right.
as well, but in UK it was strange for me.
Yeah.
I got really scared of what I can talk, what I can ask, how I can, like you said, it's like very private and isolated. And
I have a theory that any kind of British literature ultimately is about class and sex, but that also ultimately becomes the same thing. It's about impossibility of connecting with people, either whether you're divided by class or divided by kind of sexual kind of uptightness. But I think, but anyway, I think that in British literature, there's become like a huge theme, the impossibility of connecting with other people, and then it's like the highest. It's a very prominent part of the literary theme, and I don't know if that's necessarily the case in other cultures. I think that's a really big part of like British art.
You touched the subject that I was there as someone that really likes philosophy and think how people relate to each other. I entered in the libraries and the bookstores also as well, and then suddenly I start to see a lot of romance books. What is that? I was expecting like philosophy, politics and things, economics, and then suddenly, oh my God, so many romance books everywhere. I think people miss this kind of a warm heart, don't you think?
Yeah. I've never thought about it, but I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Since I cannot relate with people, I imagine I can relate with people, isn't it? Oh my God! I was like, why these people read so much romance in this country?
So there's not that much romance novels in Brazil then?
Not that much.
Interesting. Oh.
I went to China. I saw a little bit, but I saw a lot in Japan.
Wow, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of romance in Japan. I was like, why Japanese people like so much romance?
Yeah.
And they're a little bit like England, right?
I think
a little bit like keep your distance, don't get too close to me. It's strange, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really interesting observation.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so and I see in your research you have an approach towards what, like I said, capitalism, right? It's unique, I think, because you have some way to couple with that. But I would like you to explain to people what is your view on this capitalist system.
Yeah.
How do you see that? By being in these two words, that's a very interesting question, because you live in the center of capitalism, and then you live in the center of the Confucianism with China, or they say socialism with Chinese characteristics. That's actually Confucianism in a new form, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, well, I actually haven't published so much on this yet, but this is going to be hopefully my forthcoming book, a book that I've written and hopefully will get published soon. So I actually think the most defining thing about capitalism is its understanding of self. So the nature of how you think of what the human is, and the nature of the human. So I think that something like the ego and then the desire is actually very defining of capitalism. So with the idea, for example, of a capitalist free market, you're thinking about, everybody can pursue their self-interest, but then your self-interest is just ego affirmation. You pursue what is interest is just what is in your interest is just what you do to further your own other people's recognition of your ego. And then so in the capitalist system, the thought is that you can be that kind of self, and then you can still have social harmony. So this idea that the free market would just solve everything, resolve all of those contradictions. The fact that, well, normally you think that if you have an ego and you're aggressive about pursuing your self-interest, that's going to lead to some kind of social harm, right? But I think that the capitalist ideology then tells you that there's going to be an invisible hand, or that there's going to be the market is going to be self-equilibrating, and then all of those problems are going to be solved. And so in my research, I looked at the intellectual history of this. So in the more kind of dominant Christian period, like if you kind of greed, or pursuing your own sort of, how would you say, greed and your desire for public recognition. All of those things were seen as vices. In Christian, you had to have humility.
Yeah.
But then when that kind of framework started to fall away, people thought, okay, well, people are always just going to be selfish. Let's not try to repress any of that with religion. Let's just unleash all of that. So, and I think that, capitalism kind of was in that post-feudal Christian period where they thought, okay, let's not try to repress human nature anymore. But then they still then kept another part of the old kind of theological world in which there is the kind of grand design. The world is ultimately going to be harmonious. So I feel like there's an inherent contradiction to that idea. But anyway, so that's how I think of what capitalism is. That ultimately it's not necessarily about any economic system, because I think all cultures in the world always had you always had business. Everybody was doing business all the time. So why that's not really the defining thing. No particular way of describing the economic system, I think, really gets to the heart of what capitalism is. And I think is actually this idea that we can have the ego. So in Taoism, you talk about the ego as the war, and then that's related to wei. It's like wei and then zhi. So because in Taoism you want to be wu wei, without wei, and then wu zhi. But then and that what that means is you want to be without coercive ways of acting. You act on the world in a way that instrumentalizes the world. And I think that that's all in that kind of view, that's all related to the ego. So you also want to be war without self in Taoism, right? Because if you have the war, if you want to consolidate that egoistic sense of self, you're going to instrumentalize the world in order to consolidate that view of self. Anyway, so that's why I think that kind of, from that kind of Taoist critical perspective, that's why the ego is bad, because once you have it, you're gonna have a particular way of relating to the world that's actually very destructive of the world, because you're going to use it. You want to use it in order to aggrandize yourself. And I think that capitalist ideology says that that's the kind of people we should be. We should instrumentalize the world. We should use but then like that's not going to be a problem. Everything is ultimately going to be harmonious. And I think that's really the ideology of capitalism. And I also think that a lot of traditional thoughts like Buddhism, Taoism, or Confucianism would not be okay with that fundamental idea that you can have that egoistic self. That's so contradictory to a lot of, I think, traditional thoughts.
And you see, when you put like Taoism, most of people here in Brazil and even outside think that Taoism is about the kind of a religion that we have in the South Asia or Taiwan or Hong Kong, that you have like spirit possession, and then the people pick up swords and cross into their tongues and then walking trance in the streets and things like that, right? And here in Brazil, we have some communities that does not practice Taoism like that, but and they got a little bit offended when they cross these references of popular Taoism against the actually Taoism. And then we have like in YouTube some programs that goes for the scholarly point of view to the very popular kind of a magic kind of a Taoism that you have talismans and all this kind of stuff that kill a demon in distance by throwing some kind of a coin. So how do you couple with these differences on when you're talking about Taoism? What do you mean by
Yeah.
Taoism?
Oh, yeah, right. So when I talk about Taoism, I specifically talking about like the text of Tao Te Ching, and then Zhuangzi, and then maybe like the commentaries on those texts. So like the Wang Bi commentaries, and then the Guo Xiang commentaries. So I know that kind of Taoism exists there. In some ways, it sort of just absorbs all the local practices in a particular kind of in Chinese culture throughout history. They just absorb local practices, so it's kind of very folk kind of. Yeah. I mean, I think there's still fundamental kind of like ideas that are the same, that are very similar thematically. There's still similar themes between that kind of popular Taoism.
I think it's very fun to watch that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we have a lot of like say academic preconcepts. I think about that, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
especially I heard that in China sometimes even the government say, the official government say, oh, that's not really what we meant by Taoism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you see that?
I think that in China tradition, there's always been a kind of conflict between the more scholarly people, and then the way they think about ideas and philosophy, and then the folk ideas, and then I think the scholarly people, I think they kind of be very, quite, like you said, prejudiced and denigrating about it. That it's a kind of like a folk mysticism kind of. Yeah. So that's it's. I think they serve different functions. That the.
So you meant more like well, I don't know if in China they use this kind of a differentiation, but I heard from the Chinese scholars that Dao Jiao and Dao Jia.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Dao Jia, right? The
Yeah.
philosophy, the Taoist philosophy,
Yeah.
not really the Dao Jiao. That means the religion, folk religion sometimes.
Folk
right?
religion, yeah.
I personally think that's so fun, because when I was in Taiwan, some of my Guangxi, relatives from Guangxi, not really from blood related, they put me in the Sun Wukong temple, and then the Sun Wukong enters in the medium, and the medium come to me and start to bless me. I thought was pretty cool stuff, that you don't see everywhere. Like, can you imagine that Sun Wukong, the guy from the novel, actually, it's like kind of a materializing like a real God in front of you. I thought, this is amazing. But not that I believe, but by being in the culture, there's such a richness there, you know, that the guy come and interprets Sun Wukong, and this guy from the novel actually is a God that's blessing you. I thought, this is so cool, man. This is amazing stuff, how people can relate with that. But same time, not everyone has this kind of a light approach. Some get very concerned about these things, right? Because there's some religious exploitation behind that. Right?
Yeah, but I think as you were speaking, I think that a lot of those more folklore religions really enrich Chinese literature. Like Journey to the West I think there'll be a lot of much more. If you were going to classify it, you would classify as more kind of folklore, kind of like religious ideas. Yeah, but it's very, very enriching, and but then yes, I haven't but then when we do academic work, that's we never that's not not that means that it's not kind of good, but it's like I said, I think it serves a different purpose, and it's rich in a for different purposes in different ways.
Yeah, that's right. Right. No, some scholars express some kind of a concern about that and things like that, but like I was reading your works and articles, and I sense that you are talking about Dao Jia.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? How could you get to be inside of the university field? How was your history behind that?
You mean being an academic?
Since the beginning. What was your undergraduation and so forth?
Oh, yeah. No, I started, my undergraduate degree was in architecture, because I always wanted to be an academic, but I think my parents wanted me to do something more practical.
Uh-huh.
So I studied architecture, but then I graduated and I started working a bit. I just really didn't.
What was your university? Was in China? Was in UK?
In the UK, I went to Cambridge University.
Cambridge University.
Yeah.
I went there too.
Oh, what did you do?
Yeah. I was to watch some discussions and panels there and presenting something there related to the field of theology, things like that.
Nice.
And who did that for real was Patricia. Patricia did that from the liberation theology, basically, and it was like more to care bags, and eat some strange food. How by the way, how people can eat that kind of a fish and chips? What's that?
I recently went to Cambridge with a friend, and he actually wanted to eat the fish and chips. He's from Switzerland, and he wanted to eat the fish and chips.
But he ate more than once.
No, I think he liked it. He went back to wanted to eat it. So I think so.
Well, the sauce is beautiful, but the combination. I prefer Chinese food for sure.
Well.
For sure. Well, it's more like healthy food.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But it's like a magical city, isn't it? Where at least around Cambridge, it looks like some kind of a Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Yeah, but it gets very. I think it gets very. It's very small, and I think if you stay there too long, I feel like it gets a bit. It's a bit of a bubble, I think.
Oh really?
I think so. Yeah, that's just my feeling. Anyway, so I. Did architecture, and then I didn't like it very much. And I always wanted to do academia. So, and then I just started. I did the master degree in English literature at Warwick University, and then I started a PhD program.
Well, wait. How do you start in architecture, end up in philosophy? What's going on here?
Yeah.
There's a history behind here. What's going on? Tell me.
No, I think I always wanted to study philosophy.
Uh-huh.
But I got pushed to do architecture. So after I stopped doing architecture, I just slowly I just found my way through academia, and then still ended up in philosophy because I started a PhD program in comparative literature in the United States, and then I still didn't think that it was exactly what I wanted to do, and so I went to philosophy, and it's just what.
When you met your husband, was in this period?
Yeah. We met at the University of Hawaii because they have a very good program in comparative philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you think about comparative philosophy nowadays? Is it, some people say it's gone, it's not valid anymore. I got this criticism because at the beginning I was inside of the same field as you, comparative philosophy, and some people started to throw rocks on me saying that's not possible to be done anymore. How do you feel about
that? What do they mean not anymore? As if it was
gone. I was like, well, this
it never
is
really
strange.
hasn't really started yet.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's the future, really. I think.
Because I think it's the interrelation dialogues and things like that all develop inside of this field, but people say no, you cannot call comparative philosophy because this is Eurocentric stuff and things like that. How do you feel about that?
So they think comparative philosophy is Eurocentric because it's Europe is the referent.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, does it?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
this approach of the Tao, how is this like water? What are you talking about? It's like fluid.
Yeah, you can compare it to anything. African philosophy, Chinese philosophy.
Totally agree.
I mean, and I don't understand the point that. The people who say that you couldn't do it because we've always been doing it, like Chinese Buddhism was just comparative philosophy. It was,
exactly.
So, and I think it's just a normal thing. It's just like the creative thing to do when you meet new things. You try to think through it, and then thinking through it then produces something new, and then that repeat. And I think that's. yeah, I think that's how good philosophy happens. So
That's right.
yeah,
And then you were there in Hawaii University?
yeah,
Oh, and you are from UK to United States then, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Because you want to change and to do your master degree there.
Yeah, I wanted to do my master's degree in philosophy. Yeah, yeah.
It's the same university of the Hawaii Press, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Could they publish a lot of like
a
yeah,
lot of stuff,
Asian,
wonderful
yeah,
stuff. By the way.
yeah.
There's a whole group there that does a dialogue between Christianity and Buddhism, and there is even a journal. Did you met these people?
I don't know which journal you mean.
It's a journal. It's very strange, right? You have a cross, and then you have a black, and then you have a red, and then you have a Buddhist symbol, the wheel of the Dharma, then you have the cross of Christ in inverted colors. Look like the logic of yin yang, you know,
okay.
the same Tai Chi symbol.
Okay.
And then they keep this dialogue for like maybe 30 years now, 30 or 40 years is a lot of time. And I think it's wonderful because, like you said, it's based on comparative philosophy. But people keep tend to say to me, don't use comparative philosophy because comparative philosophy is something that you cannot use because you are using colonizing kind of terms and things like that. But you just said, like, I think that why? It's just words. I can change the meaning.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, like, you could just call it by a different name. You could just call it global philosophy or like intercultural philosophy. But you still mean the same thing.
The same thing.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, for me, when I use comparative philosophy, I mean it in a particular way. I don't mean you compare all different philosophies to European philosophy. That's not the way I mean it. So
you see, when we're talking about Eastern philosophy, you are a side of that, right? Some people say you cannot use the Eastern term because you are actually committing a crime.
Yeah.
A crime is too much, right? You're committing a crime of racism and all these things. So come on. That's the trip. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And these people keep pushing this idea, but I don't think it's a valid idea, because we can change the meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since we use Taoism and Buddhism, there is no essentialism behind that, so I can change the meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rebuild of the things.
Yeah, I agree.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go back to your history. Then we went to Hawaii University.
Yeah.
And when do you return to China or UK? What happened?
So after I did my master's degree in Hawaii, I went back to,
It's in philosophy, right?
Yes, and then I finally got my PhD in philosophy in the UK and Germany. So it was like a joint program between King's College London and the Humboldt in Berlin.
Wow.
So yes, I did that. I finished that, and then I went back to China.
Do you speak also German?
Only a little bit.
You're a scary person. How that even possible? You know English, you know Chinese, you know German.
Yeah, but you guys speak Portuguese, English, Chinese. So it's like not a big deal.
And that German is kind of hard.
Yeah, but I don't speak it very well. Trust me. I don't try to speak it. Yeah.
So then you went and then you spent 4 years there.
In Germany, I actually mostly just spent my time at home in England writing my dissertation, because at that point I just because the PhD in the UK and Germany, you just write your thesis. There wasn't any classes like in the American graduate system. So I basically just spent 2 to 3 years writing my dissertation. And I also visited my husband. He was doing his PhD in Singapore at that time, so I actually spent quite a lot of time in Singapore. I used to go stay with him and write my dissertation in Singapore as well. Yeah.
Singapore.
Yeah.
What's the connection?
Because he was doing my husband was doing his PhD in Singapore.
How do you met him? What was that?
We met in Hawaii.
All right.
And then I went back.
Went separate ways. You went to UK, he went to Singapore.
Yeah, he went to Singapore.
And he studied Buddhism, right?
Yes. Yeah, but his first book was on Taoism. It's called Those Who Act Ruin It, a Taoist account of moral attunement. Very good book.
It's just a shame I did not have the opportunity to meet him this time.
I know.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. This is Trump and stuff. keep closing everything and push
Yeah.
tax everywhere in order to push people in the negotiating table, and then we have all these problems.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But let's talking about your life again. So you went to UK, and then he was in Singapore, and then you guys start to be like talking a lot through internet, right?
Yeah, and then I
Not so
spent some
much.
time. Yes, yeah, a lot. And then I also spent a lot of time with him in like 3 months at a time in Singapore.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
real love. Oh my God! So you went going forward and so forth, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
after you finish your PhD, you guys got married or before that?
Yeah, yeah.
After.
After. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And how your family deal with that? Because you're Chinese, he is American, right?
Yeah.
So was it a conflict? No, it was okay.
No, it's fine. No conflict. Yeah, it's all good.
Because myself, when I went to China, right, since I was already half and half, half Italian, half Chinese, I felt some issues there, in the sense of the culture and the families. Some of the old guys really did not accept me. Even in training of martial arts, they say, no, we don't teach people like you because you're half. I said, "Oh, I'm
Really?
half. All right, don't
Wow.
teach me. No, because I'm half. Yeah. I said, well, it's blood related. What do you think I should do? Get out and kill myself or do something like that? What do you mean by that? And then they said to me, no, no, we cannot teach you. But with time, right, working by showing my competence in martial arts in terms of fighting. Of course, I used Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. At that time, they don't know that much,
Yeah.
Like nowadays, we have MMA and now UFC and all these things, but before, no. And then they start to admire some things there because it's a different kind. They call that Brazilian Judo
Yeah.
because they don't know that. I keep
Yeah.
saying it's Jiu-Jitsu, and then they
Jiu-Jitsu.
said Jiu-Jitsu doesn't exist because they call it Jiu-Jitsu, right? So,
Yeah.
and then they keep pushing, then suddenly they accept me. It took a while, but like we are saying, like this idea of the words, since it does not have some inner substance, it can be changed, like the
Yeah.
values of human beings, right?
Yeah.
So you have to prove to them they are wrong, and then they change.
Yeah.
And when they change it, they just put me inside of their families. They invite me to go for dinner and go for lunch and all these things. They want to know more about Brazilian culture and so forth. That's really take a while in order to become like interesting experience, but it eventually became interesting experience. This is why I'm
Yeah.
asking you if you have some conflicts in there or anything. Because some of them said to me, you are a very handsome guy. I was like, oh my God. And then they said to me, but I would never marry my daughter with you. I was
Wow.
like, why? They said, because you are half.
Wow. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I said,
Yes, I
luckily
think-
I'm
I
not
think-
interested in your daughter, so I'm not going to have any crush in my heart, but it's
Because
like...
I think a lot of people want to have foreign son-in-laws in China. That's the impression I get. They want.
Yeah, we
So
have
I
this
think- yeah, I think-
prejudice there, some kind of...
No, I think a lot of people also really want foreign son-in-laws.
Yeah, people say that to me, like you are very open-minded, right? You fall in love for American guy, and then you're getting a family together, right? You have kids, by the way?
No.
Not
no,
yet?
No, we don't have kids.
Okay. Okay. So if you eventually have kids, it's going to be like me, like my race. So, and then how was the meeting between your parents and his parents? Was okay? With each other was fine?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Very open-minded people.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yes. But your parents have this background in Taoism as well?
No.
No?
I think they were all quite science oriented. I'm kind of like the odd one. I'm kind of more humanities. Yeah.
In my own case, when I came to my father and said, I don't want to do mechanical engineering anymore. I just want to reformulate everything because I was in Taiwan at the time. And then when I finished the mechanical engineering. And then I went to Taiwan to do some kind of a working experience there. And then I got the chicken cold. COVID-1.
Oh.
And I got that. And then I went to hospital. And I stayed there. And then I have to help people and help in the hospital. So that struck me like lightning. I said, no, I don't want to do mechanical engineering. I really don't like that. I have to live my life. Otherwise, I will end up like that. Like dying without a sense of what's the meaning of life. So I came back to Brazil and said to my father, I don't want to do mechanical engineering anymore. He said, no, you finished the degree. Then you discuss. I said, no, I'm going to walk away. And then he said, oh yeah? Chinese people, right? Especially old guys, right? He said, so you don't have money anymore. I don't give any support to you anymore. Go to work. I said, okay, I'm going to work. And I started to work during the day and studying during the night. And I went to law because I saw the conditions of the worker in Taiwan. They sleep in the floor. And some of this company, they put the worker in the floor and then the rats come and they cross over them.
Wow.
And it seems to not care because they get so used to it.
Wow.
I start to see all this injustice there and start to push me. And then after that come the death. And then I did not realize, but I was crossing through a very tough period. That is, how do you reformulate your life towards the imminent death, right? And you don't have control because you can pray, you can do whatever you want, but people keep dying. And luckily, I did not. But how I can understand why I am not dying, and these people are dying. So I come back, I drop down everything and start to do law. After law, I did theology. And then I went to philosophy, and I went to PhD. It's supposed to be philosophy, but then it changed to social science because of inner politics and UNICAP and things like that. But it's supposed to be philosophy. Everything's about philosophy in my PhD thesis. It's not about social science, but it's politics. But in any case, I was thinking about if I were you, your parents did not react, or they did react like my father saying, oh, what are you doing with your life? When you said, I want to do philosophy, what happened there?
I think that my mom really supported me.
Nice.
Because I think obviously I already finished the degree and I started working, but so it wasn't like I didn't try. So, I think that I tried and I don't like it. So
you tried. You went to the market. You went to the field. You mean?
Yeah, I went to. It takes a long time to become a fully qualified architect, but after your undergraduate degree, you have to do like an internship kind of phase. Be like an architect. I don't know how they call it. It's like you have like an assistant architect kind of thing, and so I did that, and I knew what it was like to work as a practicing architect, and I just knew that I didn't want to be a practicing architect.
And then you said your Chinese parents, are they Confucianists or something like that? No. Well, it's a rhetorical question because our Chinese is a little bit Confucianist, but they have to learn the classics. At least my father had. To know a little bit of the classics and memorize the classics. Does your parents also from this generation that has to memorize stuff?
No, not at all. Yeah, okay. I don't think that. I think your dad sounds much more traditional.
Oh yes, he's a very traditional guy in the bottle. He really quotes Confucius to me.
Really?
And sometimes he quotes Lao Tzu to me. I was a little bit scared about that. I said, did you memorize that when you were a kid? Yes. I said, okay.
Wow.
That's because he get right in the end of the education,
Oh.
And my grandfather is very traditional guy, so he put the guys to really memorize stuff under his, whip, kind of a very stricted kind of education. Even though in the school it's not that stricted, but when they come back to their house, it's kind of stricted. They have to memorize.
Yeah.
So they did. So your parents not like that.
No. Yeah.
And when you got this interest about Taoism, what happened? What happened? Because it could be Buddhism, could be Confucianism, could be Neo-Confucianism, could be anything. I don't know. What attracts you to Taoism? What happened?
I'm attracted to Taoism and Confucianism. I think maybe I'm more attracted to Confucianism. Yeah. think Confucianism really has the appreciation for culture and aesthetics. So I think that's what really attracts me to it. Yeah, they really have a aesthetic sensibility for like music and poetry. For the aesthetic, to make life aesthetic. I think that's what attracts me.
What do you mean by
it.
aesthetics? You're a philosopher. You have to explain to me.
So I think
it's about beauty. No, something else.
No, based on feeling, in this sense that the original Greek sense of being touched. So the Confucian really, I think, has a sensitivity to how that we're kind of emotional beings, and then that these kind of emotions, you can have a vehicle for forming these emotions, and then that's basically what I would call art. The art expresses emotions. So I think they really have a very sophisticated way of thinking about that dimension of the human, the fact that we're conditioned by the world, that we're in touch with the world, and then that produces certain experiences, which then is the foundation for art. And then art then has a really crucial role to play in making a humane existence, as opposed to just like a biological existence that we need. So like visual art is, you can think of it as still just they expresses certain emotions, and then through you looking at that expressed emotion, you feel in touch with the author of that painting. You kind of see the world through their emotions and then their life, and then you really communicate with another human being in that sense. And then it goes to the same for music. I think music, most especially, everybody listens to music too. That's very intuitive to understand that when you listen to like lyrics and then the rhythm of things, it really puts you in touch with other people's experiences. And then that, so I think that Confucianism really has a sensitivity for that dimension of human existence. So that's why I like Confucianism, I think.
And what do you think about Neo-Confucianism? Do you enjoy that too?
No, I don't do Neo-Confucianism too much, because I mostly do the early stuff. Yeah.
So the main do you also enjoy?
Yeah.
And what do you think about? Well, I have to touch this subject. You are a Confucianist, a little bit Taoist, and then you married a Buddhist.
Yeah.
You think that Buddhist field has some very special thing? What's in terms of philosophy? How do you feel about it?
I think Buddhism is very similar to a lot of the Chinese Buddhism sounds very similar to Taoism and to like the fundamental insights of Confucianism too. Yeah, I don't think they're so different. Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of people that tends to really put some very rigid references that say this is Confucianism, this is Taoism, this is Buddhism. I tend to see like here too, this kind of stuff is kind of they interconnect with each other, right?
Yeah, I think that the fundamental intuitions and insights, the things they want to say about humans, I think that it's completely compatible. Maybe they have slightly different perspectives on things. Like for example, like I said, the Confucians, I think I would think that they emphasize the aspect of the aesthetic or the cultural aspects of the human more, but then they're still trying to get at the same. They still have the ideal that they have is still the same as a similar ideal to what Taoism and I think Buddhism would have as well.
What's the fundamental of this connection between Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism? How do you see that?
I think it's sympathy for other human beings. Yeah, just like being very vulnerable to other people, so that ultimately empathy, that you have to you don't want to not be empathetic. You want to be very, very sensitive to other people, and to feel other people as yourself, kind of. Yeah, I think that's shared by all three. Yeah.
So to me, when I read Zhao Tingyang works and UK works, and I read your works, I think you are more close to Zhao Tingyang somehow in proposes something for the world. How do you develop that? I mean, this feeling about, oh, there's some contribution I can do to the world. I mean, what's the model or the principles of philosophy that you are using in order to think a new possibility to the world?
Well, I actually, in some ways, I don't understand why people don't want to offer new things, because there's so many things that make you angry about the world, and why I think there's just a lot of things that make me angry. so and then I think that when I write stuff, it's just to address the things that I think are that I feel are kind of injustices, like you feel about what you saw in Taiwan.
Oh, yeah.
I think I just see things that I think are unjust, and that there's a philosophical way to really get at the heart of what is unjust about it. Yeah. So obviously, you could deal with injustice in many ways. You could be a politician. You could maybe, be some kind of activist. But for me, it's really, obviously I deal with ideas. So I think that for me, it's to really articulate and exactly what is wrong, how the wrong ideas are put together, and then talk about alternatives. Yeah. But to your question, I think it's just I think I'm actually very angry a lot of the time. Yeah.
That's very nice, and I think it's connected somehow with the principles of Confucianism. By the way, what is the principles of Confucian that you use? I mean, it's like most of thinkers use some core values, right, in order to think about the subject that he chose. In your case, I think it's more like a pusa, like a bodhisattva kind of in the point of view of Buddhism, would be like a job of a bodhisattva that takes the universal responsibility over his shoulders and thinks about how to improve the world, right? But at the same time, I see that you use some core values in Confucianism. What are those?
I think one core value for me is that Confucius said that in the company of two others, I can always learn something from. So he says, from the person who's doing good things, I copy them and emulate them. From the person who he thinks is doing bad things, I make sure that I'm not doing those bad things in myself. So I think that's very nice, and I use that thought as for comparative philosophy. You can't possibly know. It's what Antonio Florentino was saying. You can't possibly know about yourself unless you see something different.
Oh yeah.
And then when you see something different, that's always a good opportunity. Either it's always an opportunity to improve on yourself, either through taking on the good habits of other people, or to think about maybe, you don't like what you see, and then you can reflect, why is it that I don't like what I see, and then maybe am I also possibly responsible for perpetuating certain things, etc. So I think, well, I don't know, that's not the fundamental lesson of Confucianism, but that's like a thing I take from Confucianism that I really like. Yeah. And then I also really like the idea that which is actually related to that one, which that I just said. But in the Analects, he also says that the person of real virtue is like the North Star. They can just stay in their own place, and all the lesser stars just follow around. So it's saying that if you, okay, everybody wants to have influence over the people. You want things like recognition or whatever, but the way to get it is never to coerce, be wei. In Taoism, you would say it's never to be wei. You don't coerce things but if you're wu wei, because in that image you're just not doing anything. You're wu wei, but then you still attract people to you. And I think that the idea is that if you're really you do that thing where he said you're in the company of two others, you're always self-reflecting on yourself, you're improving yourself, you will just come, people will respond to that because we're social creatures, and then people that will be infectious in some way. And I think that's a very powerful image of how to do things. Yeah, so I like those two related things.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And the Taoism enters there somehow. You talk about Wu Wei, right?
Yeah, because so like I said, I think they're very similar philosophies, because what Confucius said in that point is to then be Wu Wei, to not coercively act on. It's not, because if you want to have influence, you don't go to somebody and say, hey, do it my way, do this. That's going to have the opposite effect. And then to really be efficacious in your conduct, you have to be wu wei. You have to like not be imposing, and then you get to have like actually be efficacious and have influence. And yeah,
You see, some people say that actually what Confucius was doing is some kind of a Taoism. Do you agree with that? That he belongs to the school of the Tao? In the general sense, not the specific sense, in the general sense, he was inside of this idea of Tao. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Chinese philosophy, like I said, I think the old fundamental themes are the same. So yeah, I would call it the metaphysics is the same. Like so the moral philosophy that they have is built on just fundamental metaphysical pictures of the world, and the Taoism and Confucianism have the same metaphysics, I would say. So it's just not surprising that a lot of the way they articulate their teachings ends up actually having the same logical thought process, kind of, because the fundamental metaphysics is really, I think they're working off of the same metaphysics. Yeah, so it's the Chinese kind of, I always say Book of Changes, that kind of thing. I think there's a substratum of kind of metaphysics that's
Book of Changes is such a challenge for me. I don't get it very well, that kind of stuff that they combine there.
Yeah.
And then I try to go for the system of divination that they do. It becomes even more confused for me. How do you understand that kind of a
again,
slash, half slash, and things?
Yeah, again, this goes back to our earlier conversation about the difference between 道家 and was it 道家, 道学? Yeah, I think that I read the I Ching to. I also don't understand like all the hexagrams, all the judgments. That's just, I would say that's just folklore. There's like really.
Thank you, because I was really like, I don't get it, this philosophical side of these things. Okay.
I think it's more just interesting, the thought process of how you read the hexagram.
All right.
So because it's basically a kind of structuralism, because how you interpret it, for example, is always this line in relation to the other lines, and then those three lines in relation to the whole hexagram. So it's not in Western philosophy we say like a copy theory of meaning. It's not referring to something. It's more just the relationship between the lines that contains the meaning, and then that's always constantly in change. So it's like a system in which the meaning is in how this thing is possibly going to change to the next phase, and then how the change happens is always in terms of relationality. So how it relates within the kind of like the smaller part, but then also within the whole 64 hexagrams as a whole. And so So that's very interesting. The way, because then the fundamental reality is change as opposed to being. It's becoming as opposed. Yeah. So I think that kind of these kind of metaphysical structures are shared between those traditions. The way they think about reality, and then therefore these moral philosophies then end up articulating very similar thoughts.
Thank you so much about your explanation, and thank you so much for being here with us in this podcast. So it's a major honor to have you here.
No, it's an honor to be here. No, thank you for having me. Thank you.
And I hope that you'll be here in the 12th and so forth colloquium on Eastern philosophy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.